That awkward moment when you realize your normal lifestyle is called a quarantine. Hi guys, it's Gloria here. Welcome to my channel. Today I want to address something that's probably affecting a lot of us right now. Loneliness, anxiety, boredom, you name it. Now that there are lockdowns everywhere around the world, we suddenly find ourselves more isolated than ever. We can't go out and travel like we used to. We wonder what the future will hold for us. But the problem is, we were already anxious and lonely before this global pandemic happened. This crisis just amplified the anxiousness and loneliness that was already within us. So I think this video will still be relevant even when there isn't lockdown anymore. To be honest with you, I freaked out a little bit at first. I was staring at the news every single day. I searched coronavirus like 500 times, but eventually I stopped. I was watching Eckhart Tolle's video the other day called Staying Conscious in the Face of Adversity, in which he gave a special message about this global situation that we're all facing together. For those of you who don't know, Eckhart Tolle is a spiritual teacher who wrote the book The Power of Now. This actually reminds me of a couple of years ago when I was feeling very anxious and lonely. It was almost like a lost sense of self. What really helped me at the time was actually just reading books in solitude. One of the books I read was The Power of Now, and it had a profound impact on me. Now that I look back on it, that period of solitude turned out to be the biggest gift in my life. And that's why I see this particular time of isolation as an opportunity to finally face yourself and understand yourself at a deeper level. So don't waste it. In this video, I'm going to mention some of the concepts I learned from that book. I just think these concepts are extremely helpful whether you're spiritual or not. I'm by no means spiritually enlightened or whatsoever, far from it. I'm just a person like you who is looking for ways to become a bit better every day. And I want to share the things that I've learned along the way and hope that it could help you too. Whatever negative emotions you're feeling right now, it's all a form of non-acceptance to what is. You're either regretting or reminiscing what happened in the past, or you're anticipating what's going to happen in the future. Either way, you're not living in the present moment. However, if you think about it, the present moment is all you have. You can only cope with the present because everything happens in the present moment, including your past and your future. Nothing ever happened in the past, it was happening in the present moment at that time. And nothing will ever happen in the future because it will happen in the present moment when it comes to that time. I know you're probably like, what? What are you talking about? I know it could sound a bit trippy, but take some time to wrap your head around because this is really important. When we talk about anxiousness, it usually means we're uncertain of how the future will unfold for us. And when we think about the future, we either imagine it to be better or worse than the present moment. If you think it will be better, then it gives you a sense of hope. If you think it will be worse, then it gives you anxiety. Given the time we're living in right now, it's normal we feel anxious. But have you ever been able to correctly predict the future? If you can, sign me up. I have never been able to predict my future. It has always been different from what I thought. So all the worries and anxieties I was feeling back then was actually quite pointless. It only created suffering and prevented me from living in the present moment. The point is, you can never cope with the future because the future is only an illusionary mind projection. I know we all have problems in our lives. That's what most lives are. Life is full of problems. But right now, at this very moment, not in 10 minutes or tomorrow, do you have a problem? Now let's talk about loneliness for a second. You feel lonely because you are not at ease with being by yourself. You don't feel connected. And for some people, especially the singles out there, you could feel extra lonely because you can't go out to meet new people. The reason why romantic relationships are so sought after is that it seems to offer some sort of relief from a deep sense of lack and need within yourself. You know, some people are addicted to drugs and alcohol, and some people are addicted to a particular person. Whatever the addictions are, you are only using them to cover up a pain that's already in you. And that's why they can only provide a temporary relief. So if you feel lonely and your instinct is to find somebody on dating apps to cover up that pain, it's not going to make you feel happy or fulfilled. That kind of relationship is not love, it's an addictive clinging. Now that we're all practicing social distancing, I think this is actually the perfect time to finally learn to be with yourself. Solitude can be a beautiful thing. I'm in solitude most of the time, even before the quarantine, and I absolutely love it. It helps me bring clarity to myself and stay focused on what it is that I really want. So instead of searching externally for a sense of comfort, take this time to look within yourself and explore yourself. Who are you? What is it that you're here to accomplish? And also, just because you're isolated doesn't mean you need to suffer alone. You can still reach out to the people you care about. Call a friend, call your family, join an online community. We live in a fortunate time with technology that allows us to be connected even when we're separated. The most profound concept I learned from the book that really changed my perspective has to be the notion of ego versus consciousness. If you're familiar with Buddhism, you might have heard of the true self and the false self. Again, I'm no expert in this, but to me it's kind of like a similar concept. When we talk about who we are, we usually identify with our achievements, possessions, looks, and our thoughts. But this is not the real you. This is the ego you. Your ego is very vulnerable and insecure. It cannot afford to be wrong. It thinks obsessively. It judges, complains, compares, likes and dislikes. All the obsessive thinking and emotions we're suffering from are actually created by the ego mind. But the problems of our mind cannot be solved at the same level we created them, because the mind is what's causing the problem. And here enters the consciousness. This might start to sound a bit cuckoo for some people, but I urge you to stay open to new concepts that might challenge your existing beliefs. What most people don't realize is that there is a higher level of you, which is the consciousness. This is the essence of you that is watching yourself have all these thoughts and emotions, but not reacting to or identifying with any of them. If you want to free yourself from the suffering your mind creates, you need to become conscious. That's why a lot of people are advocating meditation, as it could help you access that level of consciousness. Well, for us mortals, how do we separate ourselves from our mind and start tapping into our consciousness? The first step is to notice that your mind is running you, not the other way around. Once you recognize this, watch the mind while it creates all these thoughts and emotions, but don't judge it, because the moment you start judging, you're using your thinking mind again. The point is not to remove your thoughts, but to disidentify from them, because you are not your mind. Just let them be there. This is also a practice of non-resistance, because what you resist persists, and any form of resistance creates suffering. Meanwhile, also focus on your body, focus on your breathing, and be fully present. For example, when you walk, pay close attention to your breath and every step you make. When you wash your hands, which you might be doing a lot nowadays, fully sense the water running through your hands and the movement of your hands and the scent of the soap. Do that for at least 20 seconds, by the way. This is me tricking you into washing your hands. Before we approach the end of the video, I want to briefly touch on the whole idea of happiness. Whenever we feel negative emotions, we want to eliminate them and feel happy already. But the thing is, happiness depends on the conditions being positive. How do we know if something is truly positive or negative? And if you cling onto the positive life cycle and resist the negative life cycle, you're not going with the flow of life. And if you go against life, then you will suffer. The truth is, you never know if something that happens to you is truly good or bad, even though your mind may think it knows. And with what we're experiencing right now, maybe it can teach us to let go of our false self-images and our egos. So when you're feeling anxious or lonely, the goal is not to try to be happy, but to find inner peace. And to find inner peace, you need to free yourself from your mind. As my favorite quote from the book says, "Have you ever seen an unhappy flower or a stressed oak tree? Have you come across a depressed dolphin, a frog that has a problem with self-esteem, a cat that cannot relax, or a bird that carries hatred and resentment?" Happiness is quite a shallow thing. If you're interested, I highly recommend reading the book yourself. It goes so much deeper than what I'm able to convey here in this video. I think it's a great book that can help you weather through any crisis, like the one we're experiencing right now. If you feel like reading some other books, I also made a video about the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I'll leave the link below for you. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you again next week.